All right, let's dive right into this explainer. When we think of India's massive struggle for independence, there are a few towering names that instantly pop into our heads, right? But today, we're going to uncover the gripping and honestly often overlooked story of Shivaram Rajguru. He was this fierce revolutionary who stepped straight out of the shadows and right onto the front lines of that fight. This is a guy whose sheer bravery and absolute unyielding dedication to his motherland literally helped reshape history. We're going to map out his incredible journey today, tracing his path from a small village to the absolute center of the Indian revolutionary movement.
But before we really get into the weeds of his life, I want you to focus on this staggering number, 22. So what does this mean? Well, 22 was his age when he was executed. At just 22 years old, Rajguru made the ultimate sacrifice for his country, standing at the gallows alongside his famous comrades Bhagat Singh and Sukhdev. When you keep that number in the back of your mind, everything else we're about to discuss becomes infinitely more powerful. He achieved a lifetime of impact before most people even figure out who they are.
Section 1. A Patriot is Born, from Kaid to Varanasi.
To understand exactly how a young guy reaches such a pivotal, world-altering moment so early in life, we have to rewind to his childhood in Maharashtra. Shivaram Hari Rajguru was born on August 24, 1908. Hailing from Khed on the banks of the Bhima River near Pune, he was born into a Marathi Adishasta Brahmin family. And tragedy actually struck pretty early for him. He lost his father when he was just a tender 6 years old. Raised by his elder brother, Dinkar, Rajguru didn't just survive, he developed this massive reputation for formidable physical strength. Even as a young boy, he was known for being absolutely fearless, having a strict martial discipline, and just possessing a deep, deep love for physical training and wrestling. Now, what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast this highlights. On one hand, you've got this tough, physically imposing youth, but on the other, a dedicated scholar. He wasn't just all brawn, he had a fierce brain to match. Rajguru actually traveled all the way to Varanasi to further his education, and there he totally immersed himself in studying Sanskrit, Hindu scriptures, and deep Indian philosophy. It was actually during these scholarly pursuits in Varanasi that his worldview cracked wide open. He was suddenly exposed to these revolutionary nationalist ideas that would, for sure, forever alter his destiny.
Section 2. Joining the Resistance.
Those nationalist ideas he bumped into in Varanasi, they weren't just passing thoughts. They sparked an absolute fire. Rajguru found his true calling when he joined the Hindustan Socialist Republican Association, or the HSRA. Now, this was no ordinary political group, okay? They were a hardcore revolutionary organization entirely dedicated to freeing India from British colonial rule by absolutely any means possible. Joining this group literally meant putting his life on the line. He became one of their youngest and most dedicated members, stepping into an arena where he was suddenly rubbing shoulders with legendary figures like Chandrasekhar Azad, Bhagat Singh, and Sukhdev Thapar.
And this perfectly illustrates his intense discipline and commitment. Within the HSRA, he wasn't just, sitting in the background listening to the older leaders talk. He took on crucial, highly demanding roles. He was organizing activities, recruiting other young patriots, and, this is a big one, training members in the use of firearms. Rajguru was the hands-on force of the group. Actually, his background in physical discipline made him the perfect candidate to teach other revolutionaries how to fight. He was deeply, deeply involved in the highly dangerous, secret planning against British rule.
To give you a sense of just how early he got started, let's look at the famous Lahore Conspiracy of 1925. The revolutionaries needed funds for their activities, right? So they decided to rob a British train. It is absolutely wild to think that Rajguru was playing a significant role in this massive, daring operation alongside famous figures like Ram Prasad Bismil and Ashfaq Ullah Khan while still just a teenager. He was quite literally helping fund the resistance while barely out of his childhood.
Section 3. The Climax. The Saunders Operation.
Let's move to 1928 and see how this all builds to the most dramatic climax of his life. To really grasp this operation, we have to look at the catalyst. Basically, Indians were peacefully protesting the Simon Commission. In response, the police launched a brutal, incredibly violent lathi-charge against the protesters. During this crackdown, the deeply respected nationalist leader, Lala Lajpat Rai, was severely beaten by the police. Tragically, a month later, he died from those injuries. The HSRA was absolutely devastated and infuriated by this. In retaliation, they immediately plotted to assassinate the police official responsible, Superintendent James A. Scott.
But on December 17, 1928, in Lahore, while things didn't go exactly to plan, in a historic case of mistaken identity, Rajguru, Bhagat Singh, and their comrades shot and killed a British police officer named John P. Saunders instead of Scott. Even though they targeted the wrong officer, what is completely undeniable here is Rajguru's exceptional, unflinching courage. He played a direct, frontline role in this operation, and afterward, amidst a massive citywide manhunt, he and the others successfully managed to escape Lahore, avoiding arrest for months while continuing their resistance underground.
Section 4. Trial and Martyrdom. But of course, the British authorities weren't just going to let this go. They massively intensified their search, and the net slowly began to close in on the revolutionaries. Looking at this rapid timeline, you can literally feel the intense pacing of Rajguru's final years. Following the Saunders incident in late 1928, he was captured and arrested in 1929. The British put him on trial in the famous Lahore Conspiracy case alongside Bhagat Singh and Sukhdev. That trial gripped the entire nation, but, as you might guess, the outcome was largely predetermined by the colonial authorities. They were all sentenced to death. This timeline culminates in that final, incredibly sobering date, March 23, 1931. And here is the grim reality of that timeline. On March 23, 1931, Shivaram Rajguru was hanged at Lahore Central Jail. He died exactly as he lived, side by side with his brothers-in-arms, Bhagat Singh and Sukhdev Thapar. Today, this tragic day is commemorated across India as Shahid Divas, or Martyrs' Day. That day permanently etched his name in the history, turning a 22-year-old scholar and martial artist into a timeless, immortal symbol of India's fight for freedom.
Section 5. A lasting legacy. So, what are we supposed to learn from a life cut so incredibly short? Well, his political philosophy was remarkably mature for someone in their early 20s. He strongly believed in putting the nation way above any sort of personal gain. He taught that fear should never, ever prevent people from defending justice. He emphasized extreme discipline, both in physical fitness and self-control, because he believed that disciplined individuals are what build a stronger nation. He advocated heavily for youth leadership and, crucially, national unity, believing that true independence could only be won if all communities united together against oppression. While highly authenticated personal quotes from Rajguru are pretty rare historically speaking, this specific ideal hits the nail on the head. The highest honor is to sacrifice for the motherland. Now, this wasn't just some nice-sounding phrase for him. It was his actual lived reality. He literally and willingly gave up his entire future, his vast potential, his life, all so that his country could have a fighting chance at a future of its own. And his sacrifice was absolutely not forgotten. His legacy literally reshaped the map and the institutions of modern India. His birthplace of Kid, it was officially renamed Rajguru Nagar in his honor. The actual house where he was born, Rajguru Wada, is meticulously maintained as a national memorial today. Delhi University even established the Shahid Rajguru College of Applied Sciences for Women, and he was further immortalized with a 2013 Indian postage stamp. These aren't just symbolic gestures, right? They're permanent reminders of a short life that created an explosive, lasting impact.
I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Rajguru gave absolutely everything he had, his energy, his intellect, and ultimately his life, for his nation by the time he was just 22 years old. So considering his incredible discipline and ultimate sacrifice, how will you serve your community today? Take a moment to really think about that long after this explainer ends. Thank you so much for joining me to uncover the extraordinary life of Shivaram Rajguru.